books begin with an opening section called the foreword, which is perfect for this book too, because forward is where we must go even if we don't want to. They say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but for this book, I disagree. What's on the front of the book pretty much sums up what's on the pages inside. Not because the little girl on my shoulders is adorable, and the farmhouse and barns behind it are so picturesque, but because the story of that picture is kind of like the story that is shared in this book. It was a roller coaster ride with enthusiastic high fives and disappointing loss, the testing of our faith and the realization that everything would be okay even when it wasn't. Just like the 15-year-plus story that has unfolded at our farm since we bought it in 1999. But for the photo, all those things happened in less than 12 hours. It was just before sunset about 6 months ago, and we were in the back field, me and Indy, the publisher's art director, a few friends, and our photographer buddy, Brian Allen. B.A., as his friends call him, is a world-class cameraman. Whether it's still photography of someone's wedding day or a major sporting event being shot on video, B.A. will capture what you're looking for and then some. Since it was May and the days were getting longer and hotter, I told B.A. he might have a window of a half hour or so of really good light in the back field as the sun's setting. But unfortunately, our 3-year-old daughter Indiana's window is probably going to be much shorter. A few minutes max. Maybe only a few seconds. And that's exactly what happened. Around 7:30 p.m., we found a spot in the tall grass just over the shoulder of the fenced-in cemetery, and I picked her up on my shoulders as someone told Indy to smile. As the camera aperture clicked, Indy smiled great big for a moment or two and then proceeded to fall apart. Out of the corner of her eye, she had seen the small wooden swing hanging from a tree in the cemetery where her mama is buried, and was ready to head there and swing like we did most evenings. Swing, she said, and tears started streaming down her face. I pulled her down into my arms and tried to console her, but she wasn't having it. The shoot was over, at least for her it was. As I held her, B.A. scrolled through the dozen or so pics he'd snapped in those few seconds with his camera. "Check this out," he said, as he held the back of his Canon 5D up so Kristen from HarperCollins and the others could see. And then he walked over to show it to me also. Somehow, he'd managed to get the absolute perfect picture in only a matter of seconds. "Beautiful, B.A.," I said. "I'm going to take her to swing for a while. Maybe we could try taking a few more shots there." And so I pushed her on the little green swing for 20 minutes or so and then put her in the wagon and started back towards the house. B.A. kept shooting through it all, and Indy didn't seem to mind. But I could tell the magic had probably already happened, and though he was taking hundreds, maybe thousands more pictures, we already had the one that was going to be the cover of the book. About halfway to the house, I sat down by Indiana in the wagon, and we talked and played for a few minutes in the high grass, as B.A. changed batteries and cards in his camera. He took a few more pictures, and then we finished our walk home and were soon in the kitchen with Indy in her high chair eating grapes, and I was doing some dishes that had piled up in the sink from the dinner we had all enjoyed together before walking out into the field to do the photo shoot. By then, the sun was setting behind the trees, and it was nearly dark. I could see a few of the guys still standing in the field, walking around where we had last shot, looking for something. My cousin and our manager, Aaron, came through the back door with a strange look on his face. "What's wrong?" I said. "Well," he answered, "it seems that when we changed cards out in the back field, the first card dropped in the grass, and we can't find it." I looked out the window again, realizing that the grass hadn't been mowed in weeks, and it wouldn't be long before it would be cut for hay. "Is that the one with the—" I started to ask. "Yep," Aaron answered. Indiana was watching the whole conversation and loving it, I think. More, she said, as she held her little plastic bowl up for me to refill with grapes. An hour later, Indy was in her crib asleep, and I had joined the rest of the guys in the field with flashlights and iPhone lights, looking for a 1-inch by 1-inch piece of black plastic in 50 acres of 1.5-foot tall grass. This is impossible, I thought, like finding a needle in 1,000 haystacks. "We're never going to find this, are we?" I asked no one in particular. "Nope," B.A. answered. "Okay, so what's our plan B?" I said, knowing that we hadn't really thought to make one. "Well," he answered, "we can look through all the other pictures I took and see if there's one that we like as much or better." He was shaking his head.